Welcome to the Book with Susie. Today on the Book with Susie, we take you into a shocking expose of church life. Yes, the book The Pastor of Songa pulls back the curtains on a world where faith is exploited, corruption, materialism, and sexual immorality wear a holy face. The author of this book is guest on today's program to explore the scandalous world of a rural clergy. You're welcome, Joseph FORSAP, to the program, The Book with Susie.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your program today.
In fact, it's a delight to have you on this show for us to talk about the Pastor of Songa.
It's also a pleasure and an honor to be on your program.
Okay, you told me off camera that this book has been in the cupboard for 50 years.
Yes, indeed.
So tell me, why did you decide to publish it now?
Yes, this book has been in the cupboard for 50 years. It was designed to be a book. It is a book of literature.
Okay.
When we were pupils, students of the late Professor Songa,
Okay.
50 years ago or more, he told us that we should not just be consumers of literature, we should also be producers of literature. He was encouraging us to become writers, because at our time, our syllabuses were full of foreign input. There was very little local content, very little African content, very little Cameroonian content. We read English literature, we read French literature. And so with that encouragement, I had the inspiration to write this book. When I completed writing this book, he went through it, we went through it with him, cover to cover, as a book of literature. Okay. The idea was to publish it on Heinemann's series, what it used to be called the African Writers Series. And at that time, the only Cameroonian author on it was Mongo Betty, Woodhouse Boy. And we didn't have anything African on our program in the university, although Professor Songa, in our year, introduced Arrow of God by Chinua Achebe. So the idea was for us to train young writers, Cameroonian writers. I can name some people who were on that program, but for the purposes of today, let me stay on, answer just your questions. That is the origin of the book. It's a book of literature.
Okay. Okay, there are other topics that you could write on, other subjects that you could write on, but you chose to write The Pastor of Songa. Tell us why.
Yes, that was the inspiration.
Okay. It
came naturally. I was baptized, a Christian of the Basel Mission, not Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
Basel Mission. And I grew up in that society. That is what I experienced. That is what I witnessed. And that is my reaction to some of the things that we were seeing, were taught, and we were not seeing happening. That's my reaction, which you have in that book.
Okay. Okay, the story, what does it depict?
It depicts holistically life in a rural society, a village called Songa.
Okay.
The church life that it depicts is only part of the life in that society. That society is probably 90% unchristian at the time of writing, at the time of the story. Okay. Not everybody was a Christian. Maybe 90% were not even Christians. So it is life in Songa. The Christian input is what I observed, which was not, there was something wrong. And I thought I should react, I should recount it. I should recount it for others to see. Because what we were taught as Christians at that time, and what we were seeing happening by those who were teaching us, was not the same. It did not correspond. So you are teaching us something else and asking us to do something else. Okay. You are doing something else and asking us to behave another way. That is what gave rise to this reaction.
Okay, you will want to get the full story by getting a copy of this book and read. For now, we need to take our forward. Let's watch.
The novel, entitled The Pastor of Songa by Joseph FORSAP, is a novel that discusses issues of Christianity and the challenge between spirituality and materialism. It shows how the church in Africa, especially within the contemporary or post-colonial context, is riddled with so many ills, issues of sexual immorality, issues of corruption, issues of materialism, and the idea of trying to navigate between materialism and spirituality. It's a novel that I will encourage so many people to read because it x-rays the church in Africa today. But let me state clearly and precisely from the start that though the novel is talking about the Presbyterian church, but the Presbyterian church in the novel has been used just as an extended metaphor of Christianity in general, because the ills depicted in the novel are ills which are found in all Christian denominations. So you need just to remove the Presbyterian church and you put any denomination of your choice, it will fit that denomination. So the author, in terms of style, he makes good use of suspense, he makes good use of irony. It's a readable novel, and there is one very striking theme in the novel, that idea of Christianity and tradition, where we see that fateful confluence between Christianity and tradition in the midst of this setting. So I will encourage readers to read the novel, and at the end of the novel, they will discover so many moral lessons, didactic lessons, that will help them not to run away from Christianity for those who are Christians, but just to know that in Christianity there is the good side, the bad side, and the ugly side.
Thank you very much for telling us why we need to have this book. And I'm very sure that a lot of people watching today will definitely rush for their copy. Sir Joseph FORSAP, let me ask you this question. You know, looking at the main character who is Daniel Epie, a young pastor who has been transferred to Songa, we see that this is a man of God who prioritizes his well-being and comfort over, you know, his responsibilities and obligations. How common are such tendencies in the lives of the clergy today?
Good question. And I told you this story is 50 years old, but it is as relevant today as it was then, because it deals with perennial questions in the church. Which comes first? Is it the church house or is it the man's? In this story, there is a very small church house. The Christians stand by the window, and they have been taught by a catechist. And they're praying for the day when they may have a pastor, so the pastor can lead them into building a church house. And at last a pastor comes, and it's a huge celebration. And you can imagine their deception when the pastor comes and his priority is to build a house for him so it can take all of his furniture. And the project for which the Christians have been saving some little monies of extending their little church house is abandoned. And it is the pastor's house with so many rooms.
7
rooms. 7 rooms.
For a single man.
For a single man that is built. He proceeds. A young pastor or a man of God, it could have been a priest. Occasions that where evangelization would have been necessary, what you see there is fundraising. He goes to death celebrations, and the idea is to go and encourage the Christians there to come for harvest Thanksgiving, to give money so he can raise funds to complete his house. Mm-hmm. So what does he prioritize? His comfort, his enjoyment, his well-being, and the Christians, especially the older ones, are totally disappointed because they have been waiting for a moment at a time when they could be able to have a church house that will take everybody. Because right now, most of the people are standing by the window.
Yes.
Most of the people are standing by the window. Mm-hmm. And the money raised could have just extended that little church building and accommodate many more people who would have seats to sit and listen to the pastor preach. But now the majority are outside. Why? Because of the pastor who decides to build a house for himself first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you look at this, because you say it is relevant in our society today, such behavior, such ways, such tendencies still happen today. And the question that many will want to ask is that, how do you think the church can work to regain trust and credibility with its followers, given the fact that they are already losing hope?
I would like the church leaders who are listening to us, or who may read my book, or that they should listen to us, what we are saying, what the other authors, the newspapers are saying, what I have written there. Mm-hmm. The church leaders should listen to us and see what they can do. I cannot prescribe to them what they should do. They know exactly what they should do.
Mm-hmm. Your response was brief, but it has a lot of meaning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's now time for us to take the Vox Pop, and we are asking this question today. How do you think church leaders should balance their spiritual responsibilities with worldly desires and expectations?
I think our pastors can be able to, or our pastors will be able to navigate this dicey situation when they try to resist occultism, scam and magic, fraud and collusion, score settling, extortion. But they should build that love, humility, good listening ear. They should be unifying. They should be transparent with finances and counselors and not advisors. I think if they adopt these principles, they will be better pastors.
I'll say firstly, as a spiritual leader, you should always meditate. You should always pray. This will keep you grounded in His Word. You should set healthy boundaries for yourself so that you'll be able to serve others. Because as a spiritual leader, your assignment is to serve your Christians. And as a spiritual leader, you equally have to be careful not to involve in the church's funds, because normally in church, in every church, there is always something to keep the pastor fit and money too for the church. So you should be able to know which to use and which not to use. And another point will be for you equally to create time for yourself. Create time for yourself, because you will see at times most of our men of God, they work themselves up. They don't have time for themselves. They are only serving. So at times, you as a spiritual leader, you should equally have time for yourself, maybe your family, and let others equally serve you.
You're welcome back, and of course, we are having as guest Joseph FORSAP with his book, The Pastor of Songa. He told us that this book has been in the cupboard for 50 years, and so he has decided to publish it. Very beautiful narrative about Pastor of Songa. Yes, you just listen to the Vox Pop. What would be your own take?
They are talking out of experience, out of what they're actually living, going through. So they are right, and we expect our leaders to react so that we all can achieve the purpose for which they are there as our leaders. They should help us do what the church wants us to do. And as I said earlier, the book is not just about the church. The book is about life in that rural society. The book is about life in because there you have sins of corruption which have nothing to do with the pastor.
Okay.
You have sins of corruption on the road, having to do with gendarmes and drivers in that book.
Yes.
We have we have tradition, we have the palace, we have the contribution of the fund, we have palace etiquette, we have the development there in the village and so on. It is holistic life in that society. The church happens to be part of the society, and the church has come to evangelize, big word evangelize, to get them out of darkness. But the question is, at the end, if they proceed in this manner, are they getting them out of darkness, or they are getting them into darkness?
Okay. Of course, definitely for someone like me who has read this book, I will confirm by saying that they are taking the Christians into darkness. Well, maybe you want to get yourself a copy of this book and, of course, make your own reading to it. Okay. When hypocrisy, Sir Joseph, hypocrisy, greed, power, lust reign supreme, I still want to insist in a Christian community.
Okay.
Is it not obvious that the line between sin and salvation is blurred?
Well, by those standards, the answer would be yes, but that would be you and I talking as human beings. God doesn't depend on that to save us. We are saved by our faith. We are not saved by our performance. But what we're decrying here is people who come to tell us this is what you should perform, this is the way you should do it in order to be saved, but they themselves are not doing it. They lead us instead into perdition.
Okay.
So, but we thank God that He doesn't depend on our performance to save us. What is saving us is His blood. He already did it at Calvary, on the cross. But we don't want people to use the cover of Christianity or that to show us the hard way to salvation.
Is that the reason why you decided to conclude in such a way? Because at the end of your story, you kind of take the words of Ophelia's warning coined from Hamlet by William Shakespeare, where she says, "Do not, as some ungracious pastors do, show me the steep and turny way to heaven, while like a puffed and a reckless libertine, himself the prime rose path of dalliance treads, and erect not his own reed." Tell me the significance of this.
Again, this shows you that these are perennial human questions, because Hamlet was written in the 17th century. And such hypocrisy was already being decried. For those who have read Hamlet, you will see hypocrisy. You will see it is the human condition. You will see it already being decried. And here we are in I wrote this book in 1973, 74. We were decrying the same thing. And today we are saying that the same thing is continuing, and even into a greater scale. And I'm saying I agree with Ophelia, because the leaders should have been telling us that it is not by performance that we are saved, but they seem to be telling us that we should perform. But they are not performing what they're telling us to perform. That is the whole idea.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We are definitely going to be concluding in a short while, but we need to take on the shelf first. And all this while we've been having our resource person, a librarian expert, Mabel Foncham, you know, letting us into the world of the library. And this time around, she shed light on the importance of representation and diversity in the library collections.
Libraries, right, generally are within institutions, and these institutions have goals. So your library collection or your library policy will depend on that. So your collection development policy also addresses the needs of that organization and maybe your immediate community. That notwithstanding, you have to listen. And when you listen, you know more about what the needs are or the needs of the community, and you can address that. And it brings us to something important that we like to talk about: equity and access. And in the library, you're not there to impose, you know, you're there to talk with them and meet with your client at a particular point. If you can't meet with that client, then your services will not be appreciated. So they come in, you come with what you have, and you both meet at the middle. Okay. So representation is very important in libraries because people need to see themselves, see what they love in when they come to your library. That's why representation is very important in every collection. So in as much as we have a collection development policies, things also change and the needs of our users keep changing. So sometimes you need to be able to adapt. So adaptability is a core core skill for librarians. They need to be able to adapt to address the different needs. Like I mentioned earlier, people will trust you when they see themselves in what you're offering. You must not always try to impose your own narrative, but you must be able to also take theirs in, and then we meet a common point. So a balanced collection will broaden your services and widen your audience. More people will come when you have a much more balanced collection and not trying to impose on your audience.
Yes, I am in conversation with Joseph FORSAP, and of course, we are looking at this very interesting book, The Pastor of Songa. Your book launch is coming up on the 7th of March. Talk to us about this book launch.
Well, so far, it's been in my closet. It's been in my cupboard. Now it has to go public. It's been published, it has to go public. And we want to launch it it's a ceremony, it's symbolical, that we're introducing it to the public.
Okay.
And we'll be doing it in the event hall of Lycée Leclerc, wanted to be at the center of town. So it is just an event to introduce the book to the public, and with programs like yours, when people get to know it, it may probably achieve the purpose of the author. That is a book of literature. We do not want to limit it to the church because it is not written for the church. It is written for everybody. It's a book of literature.
After the launch, there are so many who want to get in contact with you. Can you give us your phone number?
Yes, gladly so.
Go ahead.
Well, my phone number is 677-813981. It's MTN.
Okay. You can take that number again.
677-813981. Joseph FORSAP.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joseph FORSAP, for answering present today to talk to us about your book. But if there is just one advice you want to give to those who are watching you today, what would that be?
The advice would be that the book should be read as a book of literature, as local content, Cameroonian content, into our literature programs, because that is what inspired me to write the book.
Okay, thank you very much for watching this edition of The Book with Susie. I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, too.
Okay, and do not hesitate to get yourself a copy of this book, The Pastor of Songa, and enjoy good literature. Thank you for watching, and see you some other time. Bye-bye.